and swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Graham Lynn does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season.
This is a great moment for our franchise, for our organization, and couldn't be prouder to be next to Brad. Clearly, what he did in 2008 was historical for our franchise, historical for our city. It was probably one of the greatest moments I've ever been around as a person who's been involved in athletics for a long, long time.
This organization, what we accomplished in 2008, and the people here are so first class that this decision became pretty easy for me. And you know, thinking back over my time here, the teammates I played with, the guys I want to be associated with the rest of my life, it was, as I said, an easy decision. And this organization's been first class for me since the day I was traded here.
So this afternoon, Brad Lidge officially retires as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. That poster, which he signed today during his press conference, will be raffled off at a later date to raise money for Phillies charities. And moments ago, one last time, Dan Baker introduced Brad Lidge, who came in from the bullpen to throw out tonight's first pitch. His normal music was playing, and of course the fans who witnessed the 2008 World Championship one more time got a chance to witness a first pitch to his battery mate Carlos Ruiz. His kids brought the ball out. His wife Lindsay, of course, is here too. Just a great night to reflect on the last World Championship for the Philadelphia Phillies. And now the Phillies will set their sights on the final game of this three-game series against the San Francisco Giants. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy along with Chris Wheeler. What a night to watch Brad Lidge one more time walk onto the turf here at Citizens Bank Park.
Great to watch and to see that reaction with Carlos Ruiz. You can see they both had tears in their eyes. And, you know, it's hard not to look at that and feel the same way, Tom. That was a great moment.
Same for you, same for me, and same for all the Phillies fans who are here tonight that were here on that October night back in 2008. They'll also get a chance to see a heck of a pitching matchup tonight on paper at the beginning of the year. Matt Cain against Cole Hamels. The last three matchups for Hamels against the Giants have come against Cain.
Yeah, and Matt Cain and Cole Hamels have had tough years. Everybody knows that. Both of them have probably pitched better than their numbers indicate. You see what they have done month by month. Cain had a really good May. Cole hasn't been able to put together a real strong month, at least as a one-loss record goes. Even in July, Cain's numbers are not that good, although his last two starts, when you talk to the people around the Giants, they say he started to find himself. This game last year, he pitched a tremendous game against the Phillies. It was a no decision that he was involved in and pitched deep into that ball game and did just a great job with a lot of strikeout. Hard fastball, slider, changeup guy, throw a curveball once in a while, and for the most part, he goes out there and really competes. Now, these two teams got together here on a Saturday afternoon last year in July. It was hot, and the ball was flying out of this place, and Matt Cain threw a couple of home run balls, one of them to Cole Hamels right there, hit it out of the ballpark. Of course, Cain would hit a home run himself in this game. And there goes Ryan Howard with a long one. Chase Utley also hit a long one, but the Phillies would lose that game in extra innings. So great matchup, as you say, on paper. But, you know, look for a good pitching matchup tonight because these guys are both still terrific guys.
And we've said this often, but last night was not a great night for the Phillies. They're looking to rebound and take the series against the San Francisco Giants. So it is the final game of this three-game series on the heels of the celebration where Brad Lidge officially retires as a member of the Phillies. That's right, the 2008 World Champs revisited. The lineups at first pitch when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Anheuser-Busch. A reminder from Budweiser, great times are waiting. Designated driver. By Toyota, see where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. By Citizens Bank, where good banking is good citizenship. Is it a time you experience good banking? By Xfinity, the official HD triple play provider of your Phillies. And by Independence Blue Cross, the most preferred health plan in the region. Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Park. Game 3 of the series between the Phillies and the Giants, and we're ready to go. Cole Hamels' first pitch to Andres Torres, hit in the air to center field. John Mayberry casually goes back, and he's about 2 steps from the track before he makes the catch. 1 pitch, 1 away, and the next 8 guys in the Giants lineup brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Marco Scutaro is the second baseman. Pablo Sandoval bats third. He's over at third. Then Buster Posey and Hunter Pence. Brett Pill, he's had a great series so far. He'll bat sixth. Francoeur, Arias, and Kane are the bottom third. And of course, they'll face left-hander Cole Hamels, who comes into this ball game with a record of 4-13. His earned run average has dipped down now after that first out. He started at 4.09. Marco Scutaro is 7th in the National League in hitting, batting .315. 3 for 7 so far in the series against the Phillies. And he hits that one foul off his foot, 0-2.
And time for a Budweiser scouting report on Cole Hamels. Nothing much changes with him except for the fact that he just can't seem to pick up a lot of wins this year. He pitched really well in that game at Detroit the other night. Had the 1 bad inning, and he gave up 2 runs, and the Phillies got 1, and they lost 2-1.
He's ahead, no balls and 2 strikes here to Scutaro. And Scutaro fouls it back. That fastball was at 94 miles an hour. Hamels for most of the year has had a fastball probably 92, 93.
Yeah, they have him averaging out at 91.62. So you say his fastball is going to be up around 93 at times, even 94 as he just threw.
Line drive, base hit through the hole on the left side. That's a 7-game hitting streak for Marco Scutaro. So he's aboard with 1 away.
Well, it's time now for a Nissan Keys to tonight's game. Weather holding up right now after a rainy day here. And who are these 2 guys anyway? When you look at their numbers, where they're 2 of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, Cole Hamels and Matt Cain, and you expect them to pitch well here tonight. And it really is great to have a class act return. Just saw the ceremony prior to the game to see Brad Lidge back in town, one of the best guys you ever want to be around. It was so nice to see him have the success and help bring it to this ball club and city.
Pablo Sandoval's the hitter. Sandoval takes outside, 1 ball and 2 strikes. We'll talk more about Brad's press conference from earlier today. Plus, we'll get a chance to chat with Brad a little later on in the telecast. But he was phenomenal today when he was meeting with the media at the press conference. All of his answers brought back so many different memories.
What he is himself. He's real. He never changed a little bit of time. We were lucky enough to be around him and talk to him, and he's just not a phony. There's nothing about Brad Lidge not to like and admire.
1 ball, 1 strike to Sandoval, who left last night's game with a bruise to his right heel. Swing and a miss, 1-2. There was some question as to whether he would play tonight, but he is back in there limping around a little bit.
Well, he's not going to run real fast anyway. That's not the strong point of his game. So Bruce Bochy runs him back out there and hopes he can run into a couple tonight and produce for him. Maybe they get him out for defense later if he's struggling.
Scutaro leads off first. That one's out toward right center field. Lance Nix is there. It floats right back to him. And there are 2 outs here in the first. Back to first goes Scutaro. And it'll bring Buster Posey to the plate. Posey had 2 hits in yesterday's game. He ended an 0 for 18 stretch, which was the longest hitless streak in his career. He was 0 for 18, 1 for his last 23. And he's up here batting .309 with 14 home runs.
Gene Walk used to have that great expression that he would use when a really good player was struggling. He'd say, somebody is really going to pay for this. And Posey's one of those guys. Somebody's going to pay pretty soon, and you hope to get him out of town.
Check swing on a breaking ball. No appeal from the home plate umpire, Bruce Dreckman. Sometimes umpires can appeal. Sometimes they choose not to.
Yeah, it's up to them. Normally, the one that the ball is down, the ball that's down low with the swing, they see it. It's the high one that they really need help on.
1 ball, 1 strike. Swing and a miss at a changeup. That was a good one. It was down and away. Looked like a fastball coming out of his hand. It's 1-2.
Throwing a couple good ones here in the first inning. Threw a real good one to Sandoval.
Posey now 26 years old, the reigning MVP in the National League.
We saw this guy when he's a real young kid playing with Florida State when they played that exhibition game against the Phillies at Bright House Field. And he was a star, college star. Everybody was saying, well, he's going to get drafted, and he got a chance to be a pretty good major league player. I guess MVP.
Yeah, he came to Florida State not as a catcher. He came as an infielder. And they eventually moved him behind the plate. He was a shortstop when he was at Florida State to start things off. It's a remarkable story of athleticism and just flat out ability.
Phillies drafted Mike Lieberthal. He was a shortstop. Wound up to be a pretty good major league catcher.
2-2 to Buster Posey. And just a little low. 3-2. That was a cutter. Hamels wants to know where that one was. So Scudero's going to be off on this pitch. Pence waits on deck. There goes Scudero, and the pitch is hit foul down the right field line. Well, one of the best spots here at Citizens Bank Park is Bull's Barbecue. Down the right field line. Get some ribs. Get a sausage sandwich.
Pulled pork.
Pulled pork, maybe some turkey. Get a turkey leg. That one's off the hands. Bloops into right center field. A base hit. Scudero goes to third. So the third hit of the series now for Posey. And the Giants have first and third with 2 outs.
Seems like every game that he pitches this year, that Hamels pitches, those things are mixed in there, and they hurt him a lot of times. By that I mean those jammers.
Budweiser wants to remind you that great times are waiting. So why don't you designate a driver?
Now he knows Hunter Pence is going to be hacking here in the first pitch. So you might see change up, something off speed, but not a strike.
Pence has 4 hits and 14 at bats against Hamels. He throws a fastball upstairs. No, 1 ball and no strikes.
That's what they try to do. Make sure it was not a strike, and he did not swing at it. He loves to swing early with men on base, especially.
Scudero's over at third, but Posey's at first. Giants have scored a first inning run in both games so far. In fact, last night they scored 4 runs against Kyle Kendrick. Kyle admitted after the game yesterday that it was a very long 24 hours for him.
Yeah, kind of threw that out there last night that could have had a factor, but to his credit, he didn't use it as an excuse.
Good change up, 2-1. Brett Pill played a hand in the success of the Giants last night.
Good 2-0 change up there to Hunter Pence, taking a wild swing at it.
Popped him up. Shallow right center. Utley makes the call. He's under it. And Hamels uses 21 pitches, but works himself out of the first inning. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 men left. Bottom of the first. Giants nothing. And the Phillies coming up. Could have brought in some crab fries from Chickies and Pete's. Pretty easy to get them. A lot of crab fries being sold here at Citizens Bank Park.
Great concessions here.
Great concessions. That one's located out at the beginning of Ashburn Alley, at the foot of Ashburn Alley. Let's take a look at the Phillies starting lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Leading it off at shortstop, Jimmy Rollins. Michael Young bats second. Then Chase Utley and Darren Ruff. Cody Ashe, the third baseman, is batting fifth tonight. John Mayberry sixth. Lance Nixon, right field, he'll hit seventh. Then Carlos Ruiz, Cole Hamels, and on the mound is 28-year-old right-hander Matt Cain. 22nd start. Cain is 6-6 this year, an earned run average of 4.79.
See, the opposition's only hitting .225 against him in a bad year. Hasn't thrown quite a few home run balls, but most of them were early in the season. Budweiser scouting report still with a real good plus fastball. Excellent slider, will cut it. Also throw change and curveball. And those are his numbers lifetime against the Phillies, they've beaten him. They haven't really crushed him, but they have beaten him over the years.
Jimmy Rollins will lead things off. Rollins 2 for 8 in the series so far. He takes high.
He and Hamels matched up in the playoff game back in 2010, game number 3 out in San Francisco, and he won that one 3-0. Pitched 7 innings.
Rollins overall 259 with 5 home runs. And he lifts that one to shallow right center field. Pence comes in. And he'll put it away. 1 out. Rollins retired under the chute, and Michael Young is the next batter. Matt Cain at a couple of points this year, there were folks who thought maybe there's something wrong with him physically. He kept saying, honestly, I'm fine. I feel fine. My arm feels fine. My legs feel fine. But there were points where he said, I'm just tired.
Yeah, he evidently had a couple of starts where he was out of gas. But the last 2 times he's been out, evidently he has all his stuff again. Good location. Like right there where he gets that pitch over, a fastball away. And he is a great competitor, too.
Michael Young down the right field line, slicing away from Pence. And out of play, and it's 0-2. Well, Hunter gave it everything he could on that one. Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Richard Black of Spring City, Pennsylvania. Phillies hit a home run at tonight's ball game. And Richard will win $100.
Pitched a perfect game last year against Houston, won it 10-0 at San Francisco.
And he picks up his first strikeout as Young goes down swinging. 2 outs. And Chase Utley is the next batter. Well, they felt like the All-Star break really helped Cain to give him this kind of a fastball.
Yeah, and that's the kind of fastball that Young usually hits too. That one that comes running back at him like that, but he threw it right by him.
He had 8 days off between starts from before the All-Star break and after the All-Star break. And he and the Giants both say that has done a world of good for him as he begins the second half. Utley 3 hits, including a home run in the series. Phillies had been homerless during their 8-game losing streak, but they certainly have come home and hit some home runs. They won the first game, lost the second game. One ball, 1 strike to Chase.
Well, this time last night they were down 4-0. And that's one of those kick in the gut things when that happens to you.
There's Dominic Brown, who says that he has been symptom free the last several days. Took some swings this afternoon, which is a good sign. Phillies hope he'll be back in the next handful of days. Still no timetable as far as his return goes, but it could be Monday.
Well, they're thinking about sending him out to play a rehab game or 2, and they haven't decided when that's going to be, and then get a better feel for when he'll be back.
Should say Tuesday.
Yeah.
But they feel like he can be activated on Monday for Tuesday's game against the Cubs. Utley hits one off the end of the bat, shallow center field. And Scudero is there. This is a 9-pitch inning for Matt Cain. So the Phillies go down in order in their half of the first. They've completed 1. As we go to the second here in Philadelphia, it's the Giants nothing and the Phillies nothing. Alumni Weekend. It started today with the Alumni Luncheon, which was a resounding success. Tomorrow, the Phillies will take on the Atlanta Braves, and Curt Schilling will be inducted into the Phillies Wall of Fame before the ball game. A free print will be given out to all fans. Saturday is Alumni Day, and Sunday is an 8:05 start. All fans will receive the replica 1993 National League pennant. Get your tickets at Phillies.com, or just come on by the box office and you can purchase them. We start the second. Brett Pill takes strike one. Pill 6 for 9 in the series. And it's low, 1 ball and 1 strike.
He's a pretty impressive young hitter. He's hit it everywhere, too. Up the middle, homered, pulls a ball, hit a ball to right field once in a while.
Well, they certainly felt like he was ready to come back to the big leagues as he rips that one foul.
Here's a home run we're talking about that he hit last night. He really tags this thing, too. A fastball out over the plate, and no doubt about where that thing was headed, into the seats in left field.
Pill was hitting .344 with 18 home runs in the Pacific Coast League.
We should get a change. Now they're going to come inside on him.
And he pops him up. Uncle Young in foul territory. Whoa. A veteran of all positions. He knew that ball was going to come back on him.
Yeah, he's used to being on the other side a little bit where it goes the other direction.
Well, he makes the play, 1 out. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph, what's going on tomorrow here at the ballpark?
Well, we're going to have another Major League debut here at the ballpark. We saw Cody actually make his Major League debut 2 nights ago here at Citizens Bank Park. Tomorrow night, it'll be Ethan Martin who will be on the mound for the Phillies. We're still waiting to find out what the weekend will look like in terms of pitching, but Ethan Martin will make his first start in the big leagues. That is tomorrow. You take a look at his numbers, 11-5 with a 4.12 ERA down in AAA, but in his last 7 starts, 4-2 guys with a 2.08 ERA. We saw him during spring training a little bit. He's a power pitcher, throws the ball very hard, a lot of hard stuff, and it'll be interesting to see how he reacts. He grew up just outside of Atlanta, down in Georgia. He's going to get his chance to play against the Atlanta Braves in his Major League debut, so it will be interesting to see. The Phillies are obviously high on him as a prospect, so he'll get his chance tomorrow night, guys.
1 earned run in his last 18 1/3 as Francoeur is behind 1-2. I remember, Murph, I don't know if you were standing next to me in Washington last year when Josh Lindblom was in the clubhouse, and we were asking Lindblom about being here with the Phillies. He has eventually gone on to play for the Rangers as Francoeur strikes out. And we asked him about Ethan Martin, and his eyes got wide. He goes, "Oh, he's really good. I mean, he's a former #1 pick." And well, we'll see that former #1 pick.
Yeah, he was a #1 pick out of high school in 2008 by the Dodgers, and of course came over to the Phillies in the Shane Victorino deal last year with Lindblom. So, very high on him, and he's one of those guys that all around baseball has been, whispered as one of those, special kind of prospects. So the Phils are hoping that that's what he turns out to be. Obviously, a long way to go before we see that, but he'll get his first crack tomorrow night.
All right, Murph, we appreciate that. As Murph said, we don't know what's going on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, we did see him. Yeah, we did see him in spring training, Tom, and he's a big arm guy, as Murph just said. As Arias hits this fly ball to right field, and he also had a really good curveball too.
Well, Hamels has a very easy second inning as he retires the side in order. He throws just 10 pitches. We go to the bottom of the second. Darren Ruffel lit it off when we return. like this one, Wheels. Not only that video, but also the question. Log on to Phillies.com. Go to the fans section for all the information. Please submit your answer on the subject line. Who was the last closer before Brad Lidge in 08 to have a perfect conversion rate and 30-plus saves? Answer will be revealed in the 7th inning. We're not including guys who are, let's say, 20 for 20 or 21 for 21 or 29 for 29. You got to be 30 for 30 or better.
I got an idea.
Brad, of course, was 41 for 41 in the regular season, 48 for 48 overall, counting the postseason.
Unbelievable.
Darren Ruff leaves it off, and he fouls the first pitch back. Toyota Major League Scoreboard. This was a good game. Matt Harvey and Tom Kohler were matched up at a pitcher's duel. Then Harvey gave up 3 in the 6th, and the Marlins wound up winning that one 3-0.
Yeah, they got those runs with 2 outs. Look, he had a first and third, nobody out. Looked like he was going to get out of it, and then they hit him with a 3 spot, and that was it.
Prior to that, Harvey had been up at the plate twice with a runner in scoring position, but they really, Mets I think were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. 0-2 to Ruff. Outside, 1-2.
They split a 4-game series down there. Did the Mets with the Marlins.
Ruff is 1 for 6 in the series. He's also picked up a couple of walks, so his on base streak continues. And he waves at a breaking ball. Second strikeout for Kane.
Really pounded him in early in that at bat, and then went away with a slider to get him.
So 1 out. Cody Ashe will be up for the 6th time in his major league career. He's 0 for 5 so far. And he takes a strike on the first pitch. 0-1.
Ran some deep counts last night. Did Ashe put the ball in play all 4 times. Didn't hit it real hard, and didn't get any hits, obviously. Still looking for that first one. Does he look a little bit like Mickey Morandini sometimes?
It does look a little bit like Mickey Morandini. Facially.
Yeah.
Little high, 1-2.
Since he's a left-handed hitter.
Now as he progresses, they hope he has a little more pop than Mickey Morandini. Yeah. 2-2 now to Ashe. Ashe was hitting well down at AAA. Last year when he was in Clearwater, he hit well. Then he was moved to Reading. Struggled out of the box, but finished up strong with the Reading Phillies. Fouls it away. It remains 2-2.
Mickey doing a real good job for the Phillies as a minor league manager. He keeps fouling balls off. It's one thing we've seen so far from him. Sooner or later he's going to swing and miss. That's inevitable in this business. But he does run some counts and foul balls off against guys he's never seen before.
See if he can get his first hit. Then he can swing and miss his next at bat if he has to. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. And he goes down on a breaking pitch.
We figured sooner or later he's going to swing and miss. And against a guy like Matt Cain, he has swing and a miss stuff.
Well, that's 3 strikeouts for Kane. John Mayberry's coming up Thursday, August 29th. Comcast Sportsnet and Atlantic City, the entire town, invite you to join the Philly Fanatic to watch the Phillies take on the Mets on a giant screen on the beach of Atlantic City. That young lady's enjoying a pretzel. She was counting seats earlier. Well, that thing on the beach is going to be scary for a lot of people, but you can go to Phillies.com/beach for more information. That is a day game, of course, at Citi Field.
Who hooked that thing? Throw that back.
Mayberry 2 for 7 in the series. He struggled last night with some at-bats. It's no balls and 1 strike to him in this at-bat. At the pitch from Kane.
You can see why they say Kane's back. His fastball command is really good here tonight. He has a very good slider. And that was a pretty good curveball that he just threw to Ashe after he kept fouling off everything. He said, I'm going to try this.
Well, he won 16 games last season for the Giants. Signed a lucrative contract. A lot of people wondered about that contract. He signed it before Cole Hamels because when he signed it, as strange as this sounds, he was a less than 500 pitcher. But the Giants were projecting that the perfect game that he threw would be more like the guy they will see over the course of his career. Mayberry pops it up, and Marco Scutaro is there. And the side is retired. So 1-2-3 go the Phils for a second straight inning. 6 up, 6 down. We've completed our first 2 here in South Philadelphia. We go to the top of the third. Matt Cain will lead it off. This is just prior to the start of tonight's ball game. Brad officially retires as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. Dan Baker did the introduction as Brad one last time came in from the bullpen to throw out tonight's ceremonial first pitch. And of course Carlos Ruiz, who is always his catcher when he's wearing a Phillies uniform, was his catcher again. And Brad joins us up here in the booth. Brad, none of us knew what was going to happen before the game tonight. That was an unbelievable moment, a goosebump moment.
Yeah, it really was. For me especially, and I'm losing my voice a little bit here, but excuse me. But yeah, especially when they brought out my kids, Avery and Rowan, out there by the mound. I mean, I almost lost it, but you know, fortunately, the reality of needing to throw a strike to Chooch out there sent me back into reality.
Well, Wheels pointed out you came in front of the mound. You didn't stay on top of the mound. You made sure it was a little easier that time.
You know, I always thought I didn't want to. If I ever threw out a first pitch, I didn't want to dig in there and ruin the mound before Hamels gets out there or whoever it is going to be.
See, that's courteous right there.
You know, I mean, you got to think about these things. But but it was first class all the way. And I'll tell you what, it's been a first class experience for me and my family since we've been here for a few days. And I'm just so proud that they were able to see these things and to be with me today.
I know we never get tired of watching that Hinske moment. In fact, for a while, it seemed like every time the guy would come up, we'd show it. And what do you think watching that again?
You know, I mean, it still gives me goosebumps and chills, especially watching it here. Before I ran out from the pen, they put it on the board, and you know, hearing the fans cheer again and stuff. I mean, it's really it's hard to describe the emotions that kind of well up when you see something like that. But it's just incredible, and of course, I mean, for the rest of my life, every time I see it, it'll give me goosebumps. I mean, I'll always be able to be in that moment and feel it.
Well, here you go. This is you watching the board before the start of the ball game. It gives us goosebumps, as it does everybody in Philadelphia. And leading up to that, I know in the press conference today, somebody asked you about that year when you were 41 for 41 in the regular season and perfect in the postseason. Was there a point where you thought, oh no, this could end? And you talked about the National League East clinching game when Ryan Zimmerman grounded that ball up the middle.
That's right. Yeah, that was, you know, I always believed it was going to work out because it had worked out every time, so I had no reason not to. But when the bases were loaded with one out and it was a one-run game, and it was the NL clincher, and for the NL East, sorry. And when Zimmerman was up there, I think it was a full count even. I knew I had to make or it was a hitter's count at least, and I knew I had to make a good pitch. I believed it would work, but I just didn't know how. And it ended up being an incredible play by Jimmy to go to Chase, who seemed like he was in fast forward at that point to get it over to Ryan for the double play. And it's just one of those deals where after that I knew this season is meant to be, and good things only are going to happen this year. So for the rest of the way, I should say. And it was an awesome moment.
Well, another great changeup for Hamels. He has 2 strikeouts in this inning. And, of course, in 08, 72 appearances, an ERA of 1.95, more than a strikeout per inning pitch, which, of course, you were known for during the course of your career, and 48 for 48 counting the postseason. It was just for all of us, it was an incredible run.
Yeah, it was. When I think about it, each one of those outings, took a different level of however many pitches or different level of exhaustion or whatever it was. But I really felt good about every single one of those, giving everything I had personally to each pitch, and then having the guys behind me just being on all year, because of course you got to have that in order to have a season like that. If you don't have a good defense behind you, if you don't have good players behind you, forget about it. But they made plays all year behind me, and literally every single time I was out there, they did a great job.
So was there ever a doubt that the pitch to Hinske was going to be a slider?
Never a doubt. Never a doubt. Maybe only in his mind, apparently, but and nobody else that knows me. He had done pretty well off me previous to that. He was 2 for 3 with 2 hits, but I got him out on a slider, and I told Doobie we're doing all sliders to Hinske.
Well, 1-2-3 inning for Cole Hamels, and the play that Brad was talking about to clinch the National League East was this one right here that will take us to break. We'll be back to talk more with Brad in the bottom of the 3rd, so stay with us.
The pitch to Zimmerman. Ground ball up the middle. J-Roll dives to Utley. One relay. The Phillies are the National League Eastern Division champions on a spectacular double play. Third J-Roll to Utley to Howard. What a play by J-Roll.
Lance Nix leads it off here in the bottom of the 3rd as Matt Cain is retired. The first 6 hitters that he's faced against the Phillies in a scoreless game. Brad Lidge continues to join us up here in the booth. The Phillies and Brad announced earlier this year, but they made it official today. Brad has officially retired as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies with 100 saves in the Phillies uniform. As Nix serves one out to left, Francoeur makes the catch, and there's one away. The numbers with the Phillies for Brad, as we mentioned, 100 saves, 214 games, and 228 strikeouts and 193 innings of work. Brad, what made this work? What made this idea come to fruition between you and the Phils?
Well, I think the first thing I remember the day I got called and was told that I had been traded to the Philadelphia Phillies, and I remember at first I was like, oh man, I don't even. Brett Myers had closed in 2007. He had done a good job. So I didn't know. I immediately was able to talk to Ruben and Pat Gillick and say, what's my role? Am I going to be closing? And they said, yeah, we're going to move Brett to the rotation. and we're going to have you be the closer. And I remember thinking, okay, this is a great team, and this is a huge opportunity for me, to prove that I can be as effective as ever coming off a season in Houston that I wasn't thrilled about. And, they gave me the chance. They knew my stuff was still there, and I just felt like the confidence they had in me and how good it felt to throw out here, it just kind of kept, snowballing from there, just from the first time I got out there.
Got to ask you, this ball's popped up 2 outs in center field. Everybody has dreamed about being out there and controlling the situation where if you get the last out, you win a World Series. And the energy and the noise. And what was it like to stand out there? What were you feeling?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, being able to feel that energy and have everybody around, just, you try and block things out, but at the same time, the fans were so into it, and the electricity out on the field. It's very hard to describe, but the energy that the fans bring here, especially in those situations, is you can't ask for anything more than that, and that actually feeds the players even more, and that's what it did for me before I got out there on that.
You have to try not to get too excited.
Well, you do. You have to bring it back in a little bit. You have to focus and make sure, hey, just execute the pitch. It's going to work, but you got to execute the pitch.
I remember Tug telling me after Frank White popped up for the second out, he had Willie Wilson up there. He says, I got to get him out. He says, because I got nothing left. He says, I can hardly feel my fingers right now at that point.
I'll tell you what, that's amazing. For me, I felt like when I was out there, fortunately the inning didn't go too long because I can have some really long innings here and there, as you guys are well aware of. But fortunately that inning didn't go too long, and I still had a lot left in the tank. And when I gripped the slider before I threw it to Hinske, the last one, I knew as soon as I gripped it that it was going to be the one. It was going to be the one he's going to swing and miss it.
1-2 pitch to Hamels, a breaking ball called, strike 3. 4 strikeouts for Kane, 9 up, 9 down. Brad, unfortunately, these 2 half innings have gone very quickly, but it is great to see you, and it's nice to have you back in the Phillies uniform.
Absolutely. It's great to be here, and I appreciate everything, guys, over the years.
Thanks.
Awesome.
It's great to see you again.
Great night tonight. Great moment before the ball game. Brad Lidge officially retires as a member of the Phils, getting a chance to soak it in with his family before the ball game. We'll come back for the top of the 4th right after this. Matt Cain is not allowed a hit through the first 3 innings. Cole Hamels is allowed 2. Gary Matthews settling in, binoculars all ready to go.
That's right.
Pablo Sandoval will lead it off. And the first pitch over for a strike. It's 0-1. Sandoval flat out to right his first time up. Sandoval now 6 for 22 against Hamels in his career. Curveball outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Sarge, how about that ceremony before the ball game with Lidge being brought in from the bullpen one last time?
But definitely had to be emotional.
I will say this, we've been around for a long time within this organization, and you date back to when the Phillies closed the vet with the ceremonies following that final game.
Yeah.
To just ceremonies overall. I mean, that was incredibly well and simple before tonight's game, but brought back so many memories and so many emotions, and you just feel the goosebumps when he was walking out of the bullpen.
Yeah, and he would feel it. That's something that he'll never, ever forget. No, he also talked about earlier today Victorino and how he saved the game over in Atlanta, throwing out a runner.
Darren Ruff coming over toward the line makes the catch. Well, when he talked about whether there was one game where he thought he wasn't going to be perfect, I thought he was going to talk about that one.
Yeah.
He talked about the game, the clinching game when the Phillies won the National League East.
Yeah, he actually today too. He talked about both those games, but he said after that base hit in Atlanta, that ball headed right up the middle, and he was saying, "Oh no!" And that's that defense though that he was talking about, and really coming here. And if you can remember, after him coming here, that's after giving up pretty long home run to Albert Pujols. So there were really some doubts, as he talked about today. But to come here and to have that kind of year with these fans especially, made an easy decision on where he wanted to retire.
2-0 to Buster Posey, who singled his first time up. Well, I think one thing that you can take from Brad Lidge is not only what he did in 2008 on the field, but just what an incredible individual he is off the field. Not only to talk to, but also to just be around.
Yeah, well, he's excited about it. I thought it was interesting when he said holding that slider in his glove, 2-2, and he said he knew he was going to swing over it.
Posey gets the green light and pulls that one down the left field line. Ruff cuts it off. Posey on his way to second. And he's there with a one-out double.
Tell you, man, this guy here, one of the better hitters, young hitters in the game there. Very difficult to pitch to because he hits the ball through all parts of the field. Get it to right field. That one right down the line. Take a look at him. He'll be short and quick there, and that's what I mean in being quick. Ball down the line. No chance at all there for actually to get the ball. That's what you have to do to be a complete hitter, is you got to hit that ball all over the field. So you're not predictable as far as where to play.
Pence fouls it away, 0-1. Well, Sarge, just to kind of get back to it, I agree with you that it's kind of neat to think about what that feeling must have been, knowing, all right, this is going to be the pitch. I can just feel it, and it turns out it was the pitch.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that fastball that Hinske had hit off of him previously were up against the wall.
Out toward the middle, Rollins is there, no play. Everybody is safe. An infield single for Pence, and that puts runners on first and third. Well, speaking of Lidge, as we take a look at our Mazda leaders, we see where he sits all time in Phillies history in saves. Jose Mesa first with 112. Bedrock second. Mitch third. And then, of course, Brad, and then Tug McGraw.
Yeah, well, he's the only one that's perfect. Just about there, or had a perfect year, I should say. Well, I mean, just imagine being able to go and save every game. I mean, the weight on his shoulders, whether or not you win or lose. But that slider is just a great pitch. I mean, he talked about that and talked about it. And when you're able to throw it, along like the way Larry Anderson would throw it, you can know that it's coming and not be able to hit that pitch. Just a great year.
No balls, one strike to Brett Pill. Takes inside, 1-1. Pill popped out his first time up.
We talked about throwing that changeup in his sleep. Hamels has. He's had a difficult time, though, getting that ball we were used to, where it's almost like a screwball, where it runs away from the right-handed hitter. So he can get those easy ground balls for double plays.
There's that changeup that Sarge is talking about. 2-2. Hill overmatched. He hasn't been this entire series, but he certainly was with those last two pitches. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. And by Nissan, and Nissan's bottom line sales event. Save on popular models now with bonus cash. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Francoeur pops it up. Ruiz will give it a look. Does he have room? He runs out of room.
Pretty good try there.
Hey, don't laugh at you. Hey, no laughing.
Look at this, going up all the way there. Now, when he pushes right there on the screen, watch that ball there. Going to hit him right on top of the head. Look at that. He's staying right there with it, but that ball came back a little too far. Tough play.
0-2. Our cameraman, Matt, down there, stayed with that play as Ruiz came barreling into the net.
Well, another reason to have that helmet on.
Here we go. Matt's view. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Stay with it, Matt. Would have been nice if Matt yelled, "You got room, you got room." Nope, you're running out of room. You're running out of room. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Runner goes from first, and it's hit foul.
You notice how high there that Carlos Ruiz got up, knowing that Francoeur is the type of hitter, free swinger. See, he's only hitting 202, so you don't have to throw him a strike. You get that ball in the dirt. He's outside, maybe not on the plate. He likes to swing the bat.
Just got a piece of it.
Yeah, that's easy to call too, because this guy here does it his whole career. He's been that type of a hitter.
Now the 0-2 pitch in the dirt. Pence goes. He'll get to second. And that'll be his 15th stolen base of the year. Raise the eye level. It's 2-2. I think he's got him set up for a changeup now.
You can throw him that changeup, throw him that slider, a back foot slide, or a curveball in the dirt. You know, one of the things though, when you come inside on this hitter, you just don't. You want to make sure it's off the plate.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Francoeur. He does try the changeup. It's 3-2.
Well, might as well throw it again.
Well, he's got first base open. Although Francoeur is hitting just 175 as a member of the Giants. Got it inside. He threw him a cutter.
Yeah, that's just a good pitch, and that pitch off the plate. Where you want to go if you're going inside.
54 at-bats for Francoeur against Hamels. Off the end of the bat, slow roller to second. Utley is there, and the side is retired. So Hamels wins the battle. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 men left in scoring position. On to the bottom of the 4th we go. Jimmy Rollins, the top of the order when we return. For a star cleanup hitter, WB Mason has a lineup of janitorial products that will mop up the worst of your cleaning problems. And WB Mason delivers same day, so your worst messes will be yesterday's news. Well, Cole Hamels has done a heck of a job tonight matching Matt Cain. He's allowed 4 hits so far. Just worked out of a jam in the top of the 4th. Matt Cain, meanwhile, is not allowed a base hit. As we go to the bottom of the 4th, it'll be Rollins, Michael Young, Chase Utley. A little bit of clearing skies out over center field. Raining just about all day.
Yeah.
No batting practice today. The players were out throwing on the outfield grass, but that was it. Batting practice was inside in the cages, which both teams have.
Slider just J-Ro really just needs to kind of level that swing out a little bit. It's kind of popping up a little bit too much.
Out toward right center field. Andres Torres runs under it. And there's one out. Michael Young is coming up. Sarge, you know this better than I do. It seems like Jimmy is a half second off. I don't know what it's. He's almost there. He's just missing some of these swings.
Well, a lot of times, though, it means you have a little bit of a tired swing, playing a whole lot.
He is playing a whole lot.
So you got to have your legs underneath you to be able to hit. You know, his mind might be in it, but, you know, physically, when you're playing a lot like that, it will just make you slow.
Michael Young out to shallow right. Pence comes in, stops, moves over again, and there are 2 outs. Sunday, August 18th, when the Dodgers are in town, all fans 14 and under will receive the Fanatic T-shirt. Actually, I should say fans 15 and over will receive the Fanatic T-shirt. Fans 14 and under will receive the Fanatic Fathead. Giveaways for both. Go to Phillies.com to purchase your tickets. Again, it's the Phillies and the Dodgers, the first place team in the National League West. That's all compliments of Liberty Mutual Insurance. Chase Utley will be the hitter with 2 outs.
See Utley trying to slow him down a little bit, get Kane out of his rhythm.
Line drive, base hit it to center field. It's the first hit of the night. First hit of the night for the Phillies. And it comes with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th.
Yeah, that's really good, though, too. He gets in that box, kind of steps out, gets a little bit more deliberate. Key thing, though, for Utley is to make sure that he is ready and getting his load back. That ball up in the zone, he gets on top of it. But again, thinking about it. Got to be able to think when you're facing a pitcher like Kane, simply because this guy can go in and out, and throw that record out. Usually when he's facing the fighting fields, even though they might beat him, it's always been a dogfight.
Darren Ruff takes a curveball. He has a curve and a slider. He takes a curveball for strike 1.
Yeah, first pitch, he threw him a fastball, first time up. And again, they get early strikes on him. He's going to see those breaking balls or that slider that is down and away. Hasn't been able to reach that pitch there consistently.
Off the end of the bat and Pill into foul territory. Although he allowed his first hit of the night, it's still an easy inning for Matt Cain. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. Well, we're through 4. Nothing solved as we go to the 5th inning here in South Philadelphia. The Giants nothing and the Phillies nothing. Top of the 5th inning here at Citizens Bank Park. The Giants and the Phillies are playing the final game of this 3-game series. Cole Hamels so far has allowed 4 base hits. And he's worked ahead of Joaquin Arias as we begin the 5th inning. It'll be Arias, Matt Cain, and then the top of the order. Arias flied out to right field his first time up. That ended the 2nd. Ground ball toward 3rd. Ashe charges. And there's 1 away.
Good throw there.
Phillies baseball is brought to you by Dodge. Visit Dodge.com or your local dealer today. By Xfinity, the official HD triple play provider of your Phillies. And by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building.
That's that routine play that Ashe's going to have to make all the time. Can ill afford to be throwing any balls away.
Matt Cain out to right center field. Mayberry's there. And there are 2 outs. Swing for the fences with the new Home Run Derby mobile game from MLB.com. Available on your iPhone and iPad. Download free today. Sarge, I'm going to have you read some of the promos. These innings are going so quick. You're not saying anything.
Well, I mean, you're reading them pretty quick, though, let me tell you. Well, we had Brad on. It was actually really good to hear everything he had to say, I thought, in that inning. And you're right. What a class act.
That's a foul ball.
That's a pick on the lines there.
I thought, listening to his press conference today, Brad and Ruben Amaro both were at the press conference, and I thought the things Brad talked about when it came to teammates,
yeah,
when it came to the bullpen and how great that was, it just brought back so many great memories. You know, the relationship that he had and Chad Durbin had and Ryan Matson had and eventually Scott Air had. You know, Scott was kind of the final piece to that bullpen.
Yeah, well, that's what you need, kind of some not really competition, if you will, but guys going out and actually doing his job. People don't realize that Brad's number there in the minor leagues was number 20. Once he got to the major leagues, 54, his idol, Goose Gossage, he ended up keeping that number. But in the minor leagues, he said every time he got to 20 innings, he'd get hurt. That happened 3 times. So once he got to 54, he said, that's great. At least it's going to take at least twice the time for him to get injured. So a little superstitious there, but what a great player in Goose Gossage as well. And obviously Brad holding that number up in number 54.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Andres Torres, 0 for 2. He's flat out. He's struck out. Boy, that ball just missed. First walk of the night issued by Hamels. And Marco Scudero is next up. Well, Murph, Charlie Manuel has made a number of closers sweat a little bit since Brad Lidge, because he always says, well, nobody's perfect except for Brad Lidge.
Except for Brad Lidge, you know, and he was asked a couple times today, you know, with Brad in town, just about that 2018 and specifically about that bullpen. And he said, you know, if you remember back in 2008, the bullpen itself started out a little bit slowly. Now, not Brad so much. He obviously was perfect throughout the season. But as they looked for their roles, you know, the bullpen kind of came together. He said it was about August, you know, right at the beginning of August when he realized that their bullpen was something to be reckoned with as well. And you mentioned Scott Air. He was a late addition to that bullpen, and he kind of solidified it. Ryan Matson, obviously, a big part of that as well. But, you know, it wasn't the entire season that they felt like their bullpen was right. It took some tweaking and some, you know, little moves here and there, and guys to feel comfortable finding those roles before they felt like they had a championship kind of bullpen, which obviously they did.
Yeah, and Brad talked today about, you know, staying together as a group and as a bullpen. And Murph, you were at the alumni lunch today, and Mitch Williams and Larry Anderson kind of echoed the same things about that 1993 pennant-winning team.
You know, you're absolutely right. It was wild because earlier in the day, the 93 team being honored, and I was there for that, and they talked about how there was 25 guys, and they said, you know, on a rope, all pulling in the same direction, who really enjoyed being around one another, and that was one of the things they thought really made them as successful as they were in 1993. Then you fast forward about 3 hours later when Brad Lidge had his press conference, and he was asked, you know, what was special about that 08 team, and he almost echoed the exact same sentiments. 25 guys in a room that really cared about one another and all had one single goal in mind, and that was to win every night that they played. And, you know, both teams obviously had a lot of success in 93 and 2008, and both of them, in looking back, you know, kind of said that it was the camaraderie between the 25 guys inside that clubhouse that really made the difference.
Yeah, and you guys talked about that in 83, that last month, how you guys kind of came together a little bit too.
Well, came together, but the key is too, though, you got to have the players to be able to do that.
Sure.
And they actually, you know, they did that. And, you know, again, the way everything went that whole year, from the defense was the biggest thing for me that particular year, because the pitchers were able to go out and throw whatever they wanted to. And Brad actually alluded to that, having that good defense.
Scudero hits it out to center, playable for Mayberry. He'll glide under it. That'll do it for the 5th. No runs, no hits. 1 man left, 4.5 in the books. The night began with Brad Lidge coming out of the bullpen one last time to throw out the first pitch. Smiles all around. See if the Phillies offense could bring smiles when we return. Into Philadelphia for Chicago this year. 2 night games and a day game. That final day is the Citizens Bank Business Person Special, and all fans 14 and under are going to want to stick around after the ball game for Kids Run the Bases, brought to you by Modell's. To the bottom of the 5th, Cody Ashley leads it off, and he lines one to right field. Pence coming on, and he makes the catch. He's going to get that first major league hit soon. He really squared that first pitch up, and there's 1 out.
Yeah, the longer you go, the longer you start to get a little bit nervous. But just knowing, though, that you're going to be in that lineup really helps to settle you down. This guy's got good mechanics, as you can see right there. Pretty good load as he takes the bat back, hits it where it's pitched most of the time. You know, and the longer that he's here and he's able to see the pitches, the better he'll get.
John Mayberry popped out his first time up. 9 fly ball outs for Kane so far. Outside with a curve, 2-1 to Mayberry.
He needs to really start where he's maybe on the balls of his foot there, that front foot. Because every time he seems to stride, he'll go back on his heels. Not a very good position to be able to hit the ball. That's why he's so late on a lot of the fastball. Take a look at it as he gets that bat back, but that ball is almost already on him. You want to hit that ball out in front. If it's inside, simple. You're going to clear your hips. Usually you automatically will do that. And the toughest thing would be the ball that would be away to try and hit that ball to right center.
Oh, Hamels did not get that pitch earlier. Mayberry's rung up on what looked like
It's a bad pitch.
Well, looked like it was up and in. So 2 outs. Lance Nix is coming up. Murph, what about the success the Phillies have had here at home recently?
Well, you know what? That is the subject of our Coors Light Cold Hard Fact, brought to you by Frostbrewed Coors Light. Tom, the Phils are 15-7 in their last 22 games here at home. That is the 5th best percentage in all of baseball since June the 2nd. And if I did my math right, that's good news because 31 of 54 of the final 54 games being played right here at Citizens Bank Park.
Well, Lance Nix will deposit this one into right field. That'll be a base hit. He's thinking about 2, and he'll hold up at 1. It's probably the better thing to do with 2 outs. Broke his bat. Top of the bat went back to over the first baseman's head. I think what Murph was saying, a lot of folks were pointing toward the stretch run the Phillies had scheduled. If they could have played better than 500 as this stretch run came upon them. Obviously, they're 6 games under 500 or 7 games under 500 right now because of the 8-game losing streak. But the advantage was certainly in the Phillies' laps, being able to play all these games at home for the last couple months.
Well, one of the reasons I think for me, Tom, they've been able to win there in the past and turning it on that second half. You've had guys that had actually done that before. So when you've done it before, it doesn't become as hard. You have some players there on the team that are new players. You know, they're in different roles now. I mean, this is a situation where you have a full house there most of the time. The demanding to make pitches and to win a little different than it is in the minor leagues. So it's always you should be playing better, I think, at home. I mean, even if you're not a first place a ball club, second place, usually when you're at home you play better because of the surroundings. You feel a little bit. You feel a little better. They got a long way to go to overtake, you know, some clubs. But guess what? There's a lot of games they have left with Atlanta. So we'll see what happens. Again, you got to get on a roll, win that series, and continue to do that.
1 ball, 1 strike to Ruiz with a runner at first. And Ruiz serves it foul. Well, we talked earlier about the games, the 24 games the Phillies had to begin the second half. That's what they've done so far. Just 2 wins and 9 losses. They've got 3 against the Braves coming up this weekend, and then 3 against the Braves in Atlanta on the next road trip. Sandwiched around the Cubs and the Nationals.
Well, it'd be nice to win this ball game for sure this evening. Oh, and then when you win too against a good pitcher like Kane, even though he's not having the year that he normally has. This guy threw a perfect game here last year in the major leagues.
There's a base hit to left field for Ruiz. So that'll bring Hamels up. Hamels last year hit a no doubt about it home run in his game against Matt Cain. Not saying he's going to do that right here, but he has it in him to get a hit against Cain.
Yeah, let's pull for a base hit.
You're not going to be greedy with this whole thing?
No, I go for a base hit or just maybe something down the line there. And yeah, we've seen him hit a home run or 2 before. The fact is, though, I mean, let's get that base hit.
Well, here we go. This is the home run we're talking about against Matt Cain.
That ball hit a long way, and like it was during the day there too, wasn't it?
It was. It was hot. Cain hit one also to left field. Cain's went into the first row in left field. Hamels, he drilled his. Still pretty impressive that both pitchers hit a home run in the same game.
That is.
Runners on first and second, 2 outs. And now the 1-1 pitch coming in to Cole Hamels. And Cole hits it down the left field line. It is a fair ball. It's going to give the Phils the lead. Nix will score. Ruiz goes to third. 1-0 Phillies. All right, Sarge, you win. A base hit is all they needed to take the lead.
Well, Tom, just got to have a feel. That's good hitting, though. A little inside-out type of swing that we've talked about Cole hitting before. It does have really a good setup. That's a breaking ball, high breaking ball, as he looks at it going down the line there. Just enough of it as it goes down the line. Nix coming in to score.
Second RBI of the year for Hamels. There was a developing situation on that play, though, because Nix hadn't reached the plate yet when Ruiz was going to third, and Frank Core's got a very good arm. It didn't get close, but there was a moment where Ryan Sandberg was saying, you got to get down. You got to get down.
Yeah, talking with Tim Flannery today, third base coach there for the Giants. He said this is without a doubt the toughest field there, and here comes his throw in. A little bit off the target, but Frank Core has one of the best arms there in both leagues, really.
1 ball, no strikes to Rollins. Runners on first and third. 1-1. Fastball at the knees.
That's that pitch. I think for me, J-Ro can handle a little bit better than that high fastball. Same situation here. Not really looking to hit it out, just looking to really drive that ball and hit a hole.
Hamels is going. Cain steps off. Now he runs at Cole. They've got him in a rundown. Ruiz now goes home, but Hamels is tagged out.
Wow.
On the side, he's retired. The Phillies do score a run. Hamels' RBI single gives them a 1-0 lead as we go to the 6th. providing many moments to remember with their arms and gloves. Despite struggles at the plate, the Phillies have kept their focus while in the field. Patrolling the outfield and infield, they've been providing solid defensive plays behind their pitchers and picking off base runners trying to take that extra base. As usual, Chase is ready to make a play whenever needed, and Kyle's reactions were ready as well. The leather is ready even if you have to make your way through the crowd for a play. And it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless.
Well, some Tony Luke's cheesesteaks. Pop it up out at Ashburn Alley. They go through a lot of meat out there, Sarge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Used to be before the ballpark opened, you had to go up about a mile or so away to Tony Luke's to get some cheesesteaks. Now you can just go out to Ashburn Alley.
Well, they bring them by from time to time. We really appreciate that.
Well, Hamels will go back to work here in the top of the 6th. He has the lead after, I guess you could say, a base running blunder on his part. He thought he could sneak to second base, and Matt Cain saw him and was able to get him in a rundown. Carlos Ruiz never really broke toward home.
You can't go in that situation, and again, you have a slow runner at third base. I mean, it's one of those situations you want to get away. I mean, really, got to let your guy go on and hit, and hopefully he can get a single, score any more runs for you. But pitchers aren't the best base runners.
Sandoval toward third, a foul ball. Here's the play now. Hamels not being held on. He takes off.
Yeah, what he was doing actually was almost kind of, I guess, timing him. But if you had a faster runner there on third base, and Carlos maybe should have took off a little bit quicker just to draw a throw.
Out toward left center. That's going to drop for Sandoval.
That's why it's just so difficult to pitch to him. That ball there almost on the ground. And he hits the ball. Can be up high, he'll hit it. He likes to swing.
That youngster is never around to see or hear Whitey, but he's getting to know him right now out in Ashburn Alley. Inside, 1-0. Posey 2 for 2 tonight.
Another one of those guys that looks for the ball in a certain spot early in the count. Does have the ability to go the other way.
Threw him a changeup, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Good pitch. Well, that's when that pitch is most effective, after you've actually thrown a good fastball. And you come back, same arm motion with that changeup.
Ground ball towards shortstop. Should be 2. Nice play by Rollins. Excellent feed. It is 2.
Solid pitch there, outside corner. That's how you get your ground balls. Look at this feed here, the transfer over to first base, nice and easy. Good play.
Nobody on. Hunter Pence is up. Curveball. Dropped a curveball on him on the first pitch.
You don't see that often where your right-hander buckles on a curveball from a left-handed pitcher.
Oh, 1 pitch. Another curveball. Did he go? Yes, he did. Tim Welke was the crew chief in 2008 when the Phillies won the World Championship. He made the call over at first base. He would have had the plate if the game had gone, or if the series had gone to Game 7. If 0-2 pitch to Pence, and a line drive base hit to left center field. Ruff's going to try to cut it off. He can't. So Pence is going to go to second. 25th double of the year for Pence.
Just wondering what he was trying to do with that particular pitch ahead of the count. 0-2. He's been throwing inside, very effective. You know, you get a fastball out over the plate, you're asking for some trouble. That ball smoked into left center. Hit so hard, the ball goes all the way to the wall as he scampers in to second base. All there, he was throwing there in the dirt where he was offering at it. That's another big difference too. In the day when actually I was playing, and now, I mean, if you were swinging at that ball in the dirt, they were going to throw you that ball there, I mean, until the cows come home. But I guess these guys a lot of times think maybe they're looking for that pitch in the dirt.
Inside 2-0.
No, I have no other explanation for it. Throws him a high fastball and he whacks it.
Yeah, he can get on top of a high fastball better than most guys.
Well, I mean, he's all off balance on that breaking ball. Yeah, if you want to throw a fastball, fine. Just go and get it in and get him off the plate. Good pitch.
Toyota Major League Scoreboard. The Braves continue to swing the bat well. Justin Upton, a 2-run home run. They lead the Rockies 3-1. It's Upton's first home run since the 9th of July.
Wow.
Yeah, but still, they keep on winning. Oh boy, look out.
Well, that's it. You got to duck when those balls are going in the stands, hit that hard, or at least get out of the way.
Sometimes the balls hit so hard it's tough to get out of the way. That ball, man. Well, now 2 balls and 2 strikes. And a called strike 3. How about sneaking a 93-mile-an-hour fastball right along the knees to get Pill for the second time. 5 strikeouts for Hamels, no runs. 2 hits and 1 man left in scoring position. Yeah, he's got that changeup, but he also has a big-time fastball. And he unreeled it right there to wrap up the 6th. It's a sure sign of a good time. Here we go. Buy WP Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. And buy the Quality Plus Ford stores. Go further. But we are all over Ashburn Alley tonight. Chickies and Pete's, Tony Luke's, Campos. Jimmy Rollins leads it off here in the 6th, and it's a strike to him. Sarge, you've ever had the heater?
Yes.
Is it hot?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Maybe I ought to get some of those for tomorrow. See what I can do, Tom.
Rollins hits it down the left field line, slicing foul.
Yeah, that's what I mean by having a little bit of a tired, you'll get the blues, a little bit of a tired swing. That's normally a pitch that he is really hitting hard. But when you become tired, your legs are a little bit tired, the swing is just not going to be there the way that you would like for it to be there.
Well, they talked about being tired with Kane, and he had a few extra days and came back, and then they felt like he was fine. I mean, how does a hitter get through that?
Same way. You take a few days off. For instance, if you get a day off and then you have a scheduled day off, that's 2 days there in a row, and then you have that night game. Usually your legs can get back with you there. At least you're seeing the ball a little bit better.
Sandoval give that a look, but it's out of play. Well, Kane is only at 63 pitches at this point. He's got about 30 less than what Hamels is throwing.
Well, those guys that eat up a lot of innings, certainly Kane does that along with Hamels. A lot of times, too, that record you could throw out of the window there. What you like is that those guys are taking that ball every 5th day. That's what it's all about as a starter.
6 strikeouts now for Kane. Tomorrow at 5, Ray Dittinger joins the panel with the latest on the Eagles. Plus, we'll have a preview of the Phils series against the Braves. All that and more on the next Phillies Sports Talk, presented by Classic Nissan. Tomorrow at 5, only on Comcast Sportsnet. Diving stop by Sandoval to his feet. 2 outs. He just robbed Michael Young of a hit.
Can't believe he made the play. Got to be really quick. And actually diving that ball right in his glove. Take a look at it. A slider he hits almost at the end of the bat. Good play, however. Sandoval getting up, straightens up, throws that ball right there on the money. Well, he's gone through his ups and downs there as a hitter, as a player. That lost his position at one time and then actually got it back. You get it back when you start hitting. It's plain and simple.
Utley fouls that one off his foot. And it's 0-1. By the way, that last ground out by Michael Young is the first ground out of the night for the Phillies. I stepped out into the hallway in between innings, and Jack Shore, who writes for the Associated Press, said, "You realize that none of the outs for the Phillies have been on the ground?" I said, "Really?" I said, "I didn't know that."
Yeah,
Well, Jackie now won.
I didn't know that either, to be quite frank. I mean, when you're following the game, you're looking at it.
There's a fly ball to left, deep but playable. Francoeur wanders under it and makes the catch. Phillies go down in order. We've played 6. We put in the 7th inning. The Phils on an RBI by Cole Hamels lead it by 1.
Well, our local Honda dealers game summary, Richie Ashburn used to say about pitchers, I think, complain. He said, why don't you just pitch a shutout and hit a home run? Well, Cole Hamels pitching a shutout. He hit a home run, but he's knocked in the only run tonight. Long way to go in this one. Really good game. Kind of thought it would be, Tom, with these two guys out there tonight, because their records are not what they are.
Well, they both have good stuff tonight, too. I mean, Hamels' placement of the fastball has been very good, and you pointed out how good Kane was in the first couple of innings with his fastball. Francoeur breaks his bat. There's been a lot of that tonight on both ends.
Yeah, well, Kane is a guy who has pitched a perfect game, and he went through the order, but the first 9 before somebody got a hit, first 10, 11 before somebody got a hit off him.
Well, these lucky fans of tonight's Citizens 7. They will receive a prize pack, compliments of Citizens Bank. Citizens Bank with the most 7-day branches in the Philadelphia area. To find a branch near you, visit citizensbank.com.
Always look at Cole Hamels in his pitch count, how many foul balls, and before that, he had 98 pitches and 24 foul balls mixed in.
Well, there's a base hit to right center field for Arias. So both the first two hitters have swung at the first pitch. And Kane will bat here in the 7th.
Yeah, with a position player that's not a catcher at first base. Arias is a shortstop. And this is definitely a bunt situation as you look at Cole's 101 pitches and trying to get him over. Matt Cain has 7 sacks this year.
And Kane does bunt it. Hamels quickly off the mound and 2 outs. Arias goes to second. Both the Phillies and the Giants finished the month of July with a less than 500 record. Giants were 8-17. Phillies were a couple games under 500 in the month of July. Hoping that August is a little different. Both teams are hoping August is a little different. Giants know a little bit about that. Giants last year from August 1st on went 38-21.
And both teams really happy to get this game in tonight. The weather forecast, it rained all day. It started to get better and better as the night went along. The Giants obviously are not coming back here this year, and they really couldn't find a date to reschedule this thing. A mutual date. They were struggling with that, so they really needed to get this game played tonight, and it's turned out to be a really good ball game.
Torres down the right field line. That'll be out of play, 1-1. Well, the Giants do have to come back east again. They have to come back to play the Nationals and then eventually play the Marlins in that same series.
The Phillies had games on the off days that they had. The Phillies had games scheduled with other teams, so there really wasn't anything there, even though they were coming back this way.
Actually, the Giants have to come back 2 more times.
Yep.
They have to face the Mets and the Yankees later on this year in September. Torres out toward left center field, playable for Mayberry, and Hamels works around the 1-out single by Arias. He's been very good through 7 innings tonight. He's allowed 7 hits. He leads it by 1. It's time to stretch. answer. All right, Wheels, here's the question one more time. Who was the last closer before Brad Lidge in 08 to have a perfect conversion rate and 30-plus saves?
My guess is going to be the guy who put on that great light show out in Los Angeles, Eric Gagne.
You are correct in 2003. The light show.
That was unbelievable when he was.
I thought it was Dustin Pedroia that put the laser show on.
The lights would flash out there. The music. Gagne had a stretch that was hard to believe. And not only would he come in and get him out, but he'd strike people out.
1 ball, no strikes to Darren Ruff. Ruff is 0 for 2. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Kane's pitch count is so low, it's unbelievable compared to what Cole Hamels is dealing with right now. And a lot of it's because of the foul balls. 69 pitches, number 70 there for Kane here in the 7th inning. A lot more pitches put in play early by Phillies hitters tonight.
Inside, ball 4, and he continues to reach base. It's a remarkable streak, 29 consecutive games for Darren Ruff. Murph, Darren Ruff's going to be pitch run for while you give your Major League notebook.
All right, sounds like a plan. Brought to you by Gwynedd Mercy College. And B.J. Upton, guys, is working his way back towards the Atlanta Braves starting lineup. He started a rehab assignment on Wednesday. He's been out of their lineup since July the 12th. He went 0 for 3 in his first game, but today, in his second game of his rehab, 2 for 2 with 2 doubles and 2 runs scored for B.J. Upton. No timetable on his return. And guys, it seems like we're getting a little bit closer to the resolution of the biogenesis scandal in Major League Baseball. Alex Rodriguez, of course, is in the center of that. Apparently, his people are now negotiating with Major League Baseball about a possible suspension. The other plan is a lifetime ban from Major League Baseball, which they're trying to avoid. So he is negotiating right now. We should know in a couple of days that penalty, and the other 9 guys as well involved. Looks to be like a 50-game suspension for each of those that haven't already served that. So we're getting close, guys.
Yeah, they keep saying that a deal is imminent. A deal is imminent. Cody Ashe hits one to center field. Martinez, the pinch runner, tagging. Torres gets it in. Yeah, there's one away.
Cody Ashe really hoping he could get a ball they can pull. Get it into the hole. They bring Michael Martinez in, maybe get a first and third out. You're not going to bunt in that situation. But he hit the fly ball in center field. Still struggling for that first hit, although he hit a bullet his last time, that time prior to that.
Well, what away. John Mayberry's up. He's 0 for 2. You know, Murph, we were saying that you hope that there's some finality to everything that's happening. I can only imagine all of the things going on behind the scenes with the biogenesis investigation.
It'll be very interesting when it all does play out. And, you know, I think Major League Baseball is really trying to get this A-Rod thing worked out first so then they can hand out the rest of the penalties. And, you know, it also will be interesting to see if Alex Rodriguez decides to fight a lifetime ban and go that route. He certainly has that right to do that. But the plan that Major League Baseball is hoping for is that he'll accept the penalty, which will probably be the rest of this season and all of next season, and then come back in 2015. So that remains to be seen. Alex Rodriguez holds a lot of cards, and certainly the union will be involved as well. But I think everybody involved just wants a resolution to this.
Yeah, and it seems like Major League Baseball, although Alex might hold some cards, it seems like Major League Baseball went out and got themselves a brand new deck. Yeah. As Mayberry fouls that one. It's 1 ball and 1 strike.
What are you talking about? He'd be 40 years old when he came back?
I think that's what it is. You know,
after missing all this time? Wow.
He'd be 40 years old, but he'd be due $61 million from the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
So that's incentive to come back, obviously.
Yeah, be incentive to come back and think of the player you're going to get, too.
Yeah.
Not anywhere near the player that making that kind of money.
Well, not to make this sort of a roundtable discussion, but I would think the Yankees are going to do something about that contract if for some reason he's banned from baseball for an extended period of time.
They'll try, but that's easier said than done a lot of times because the association does a great job of not allowing that stuff or fighting it.
1 ball and 1 strike to John Mayberry. Mayberry trying to get the Phils an extra run here. They lead it 1-0 on a base hit by Cole Hamels. Pistardo is throwing in the pen for the Phillies. We were talking in between innings. We were wondering if Hamels would get at least a chance to start another inning. He might.
They may be thinking about if they get to his spot in the order.
Mayberry pulls it foul.
They want to make sure they have Pistardo ready, and then again, they may decide just to bring him in and take Cole out if this inning lasts a little bit longer. Pitch a very solid 7 innings. That's a great shot.
Matt and Jimmy have been floating around the ballpark all night, getting some shots of some of the things going on. It's always neat when we have that extra camera where they can capture some of the great sights here at Citizens Bank Park that are beyond the normal reach of our cameras.
Martinez is not a guy to think about stealing a base here, but they're going to make sure and move over there. Mayberry not a guy that hits the ball in the hole to right very often either, and they don't think he will either with the way that second baseman Scudero is playing. He could dribble one in there, and there's all kinds of room, but he pulls everything.
There goes Martinez, and the pitch is popped up. Hill over toward the railing, and it's out of play. For years, StubHub has been the place to go to find great Phillies tickets. And this season, you can get more with your tickets thanks to StubHub Fan Rewards. So get to StubHub and grab your seats today.
12 out of 14 successful against Matt Cain this year. Well, I guess we've got to throw 15 in there on Hamels. We'll forget that. But after Michael Martinez is trying to steal that bag, you would think there's going to be another throw over right now after that, because he got a pretty good jump.
Yeah, Posey's thrown out 23% of the runners trying to steal this year. There he goes again. Pitch is inside. Throw to second. Not in time.
It's really surprising they didn't throw over them after he just had a really good jump trying to steal second base. He really figured they'd throw over. They don't, and he got a very good jump. Again, here it is. It's just a straight steal. Buster Posey bounces it, but he wasn't going to get him anyway because Cain's kind of slow to the plate. Now they're going to play way off the bag at first base. And up the middle for Mayberry, as you see there.
Mayberry pulls it through the hole on the left side of base hit. Martinez is being waved home. Here's the throw to the plate by Francoeur on one hop. He is out at the plate. He did not get a very good jump off second because he wasn't sure if the ball would go through or not. They still sent him, and Jeff Francoeur still has a well above average arm.
Yeah, and very accurate too. And he's not going to get a good jump, as you say, on that play because you have to make sure the ball gets through. That's your first responsibility. You'll see he does the right thing, does Martinez there. Make sure the ball gets through. Ryan Sandberg takes one look and decides he's going to test Francoeur, and he makes a good throw there. Now Buster Posey's going to take throws out in front of the plate. That's the way they want him to do it after what happened to him a couple years ago. Watch where he takes his throw. He does that on purpose, but he had plenty of time to get it on the long hop and then go back and make the tag. Here's a look again. Has to wait for it to go through, and then he gambles and tries to send him. If he had to do that again, obviously, he wouldn't do it, especially with one out. Now, did they have a left? And they did not have a left-hander up the bullpen either. Mayberry with good base running, though, did move into scoring position.
Lance Nix singled his last time up. He's 1 for 2.
They just came out and had a conversation with Matt Cain, and that could be maybe they're going to pitch around next with the base open, 2 outs. That pitch was way outside, not even close. Another one. Look at a changeup too. So they're pitching around him right now. Is that Gardner who came out just then instead of Getty?
Yep. Getty, of course, is here.
Mark Gardner was a pretty good major league pitcher. Had a tremendous curveball. Right-hander. They may just put him on. You hear a whistle come from the dugout or anything. Yep, there you see Bruce Bochy. You hear the whistle and the 4 fingers go up.
So King will face the right-hander Carlos Ruiz instead of the lefty Lance Nix. Phillies fantasy cap, if you're 30 years old or older, will be January 22nd through the 26th of next year in Clearwater, Florida. Package includes hotel accommodations and practice with and instruction from guys like Greg Luzinski, Mike Lieberthal, Mickey Morandini, Dave Hollins, Larry Anderson. Fantasy camp versus the legends at Bright House Networks Field, Phillies uniform, and so much more. Call 610-520-3400 for more information. Yeah. Ruiz takes high, 1 ball and no strikes. Carlos singled his last time up.
Trying to pick up a 2-out hit here. Now you get in. Now you do get a jump off second base because you're not worried about it whether it goes through or not.
Ground ball to first. Pays off. They walk Nix and get Ruiz to ground out. And that closes up the 7th inning. No runs, 1 hit, 2 men left, and 1 man thrown out trying to score from second base. To the 8th we go with the Phillies still hanging on to a 1-0 lead. Bank, where good banking is good citizenship. Isn't it time you experience good banking? By Thomas Jefferson University Hospitals. Call 1-800-JEFF now for an appointment. And by Chevrolet. Visit your local dealer at ChevyDealer.com. John Mayberry moves from center field to left field tonight. And Michael Martinez, who came on to pinch run for Darren Ruff, is now in center field. Cole Hamels remains in the game. Matt Cain worked out of a tight jam in the bottom of the 7th. And as we go to the top of the 8th, it's Scudero, Sandoval, and Buster Posey, with Bastardo and DeFreitas both warming up in the bullpen for the Phils. Hamels begin the inning with 105 pitches. He didn't like that first ball.
And he was going to make sure he didn't give him back to Dreckman. He put in the ball pouches there, so he might throw it to him again. That's one way to get rid of it.
Scudero had a base hit in the first that extended his hitting streak to 7 games. And he takes what looks like a curveball for a strike. And they say changeup, 80 miles an hour. Usually 80 or more is usually a changeup for Hamels. Curveball's usually in the 70s. That did have a little loop to it, though.
Well, no margin for error to try to get a run there in that inning. Runner thrown out at the plate.
Fly ball to shallow center. Utley and Martinez out there. And Michael Martinez calls off Chase, and there's 1 out.
Well, he did a good job. It looked like he cut that thing in on him, or else it was just a fastball in and jammed him.
Time now for a Hyundai defensive play of the game, and the Panda Bear still can move.
Yeah, he's still a good defensive third baseman. He'll surprise you how, as big as he is, he doesn't run all that well, but he's very quick with his reactions at third. He has been since the day that he came up. And there's nothing you can teach about that play. You just react to it, and he's very good at it.
Brought to you by our local Hyundai dealers, our Hyundai defensive play of the game.
I've seen third basemen over the year can't run a lick, but they're really good at that play because they just react so well.
Can they be for a long period of time, though?
Well, that's it. His body is different. And I'm sure they feel that at some point he just can't be as big as he is. But there was a guy named Doug Rader that played for a long time in the major leagues that couldn't run a lick and was about as quick a third baseman as you ever saw.
He was not as big as Sandberg.
Oh, no. Just couldn't run.
That was a curveball. Out in front, fly ball to left. Mayberry is under it. 2 outs. Every time the Phillies retire the opposition 1-2-3, which Hamels has done twice tonight. Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports, giving you all your favorite sports all year long.
It's a guy you really have to watch right now. Posey's a big-time clutch hitter, and he's going to be, as DeFreitas is out there along with Bastarda, he's going to be looking for something to hit out of the ballpark and tie this game up. And it'll be a guessing game. Pitcher throwing to a guy who's a catcher and tries to outthink the other guy. And that's what they did. They came with something real slow, breaking ball there to start it out, figuring he's hunting for a fastball to drive.
Out toward left center field. That's well hit. Mayberry on the run. He has room. Martinez is there too. And it's Martinez who makes the catch. And the side is retired. Cole Hamels is going to get a standing ovation as he leaves the field after 8 shutout innings. He scattered 7 base hits. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. His spot is due up when we return. Hamels. He's been the hitting star and the pitching star tonight. 8 innings so far, scattered 7 hits. Time now for a Coors Light freeze cam. And we revisit what's been a great day for Brad Lidge and really for the Phillies organization as Brad retires as a Philly. And that picture right there, and also that walk-in from the bullpen. Kind of an iconic look at the 2008 season for the Phillies as Brad and his family got a chance to enjoy the ceremonies tonight. And there's Brad still watching the game.
Yeah, he'd be thinking about getting up right now.
Yeah.
This will be my spot. Papelbon's going to do that now because Cole Hamels will be finished.
Kevin Franzen will pinch hit for Cole, and it's upstairs 1-0.
Really good job by Cole Hamels on that. How to work out of some jams. The Giants not hitting real well with runners in scoring position, and he continued that for them tonight with a real good effort. Only 1 walk.
Franzen fouls it back. 1 ball, 1 strike.
In the same vein, here's Matt Cain still out here on the road in the 8th inning. He's been outstanding.
He's about to throw his 90th pitch.
Well, that's all. I'd love to get another run here.
I don't think Bruce Dreckman realized that was strike 3 because he just made it a very nondescript punch out of Kevin Franzen. But it is strike 3, and there's 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th.
Posey reminded him.
A reminder tomorrow night the Phillies will kick off a 3-game series with the Atlanta Braves, and Kurt Schilling will be inducted into the Phillies Wall of Fame. Tickets are still available for the game. The ceremony will be right before the ball game. Coverage on Comcast Sportsnet begins at 6:30. Saturday, the alums will be introduced prior to the ball game. And then Sunday, it's an 8:05 start. All fans coming to Citizens Bank Park will receive the commemorative 1993 National League pennant. Purchase tickets at Phillies.com. Rollins takes low and in. 1-1. Rollins 0 for 3. Rollins lines one to right field. Pence dives. He can't get it. It gets by him. Rollins on his way to second. He'll get to third. He took the afterburners and put them into overdrive, and he'll be at third base standing with a 1-out triple.
That's a mistake by Pence, and we'd see him do that when he was with the Phillies too. So he would dive for balls like that in a situation where you want to keep it in front of you. You can't catch it. You certainly don't want to get by for extra bases. And that's what happened. Jimmy hits this really hard. He's like a fastball. He got some top spin on it. Pence thinks he has a chance. He really doesn't. Thing bounces way in front of him. And Rollins sees it gets by him and get to third easily. And there's that extra run sitting out there on that misplay in right field.
746 extra base hits for Rollins. It's second all time in Phillies history. The infield is in. Michael Young is up. He's 0 for 3. Robbed of a hit his last time.
Go on contact here. They do have Utley up, but then it would be with 2 outs, trying to get a 2-out hit. See if they would gamble on contact.
2-0.
He wants him here. Although they do have a left-hander up in the bullpen for Utley.
Javier Lopez.
We've not seen in this series, and he's really done a great job for them over the years.
A cast off from the Boston Red Sox. And it's hit towards shortstop. Rollins coming home. The throw to the plate in time. Rollins with the bat standing right in the base path. Stepped over it.
He couldn't slide because the bat was right there. And Arias makes a good play. They did go on contact. Kind of thought they would with that left-hander up in the bullpen. And Arias makes a good play. He was kind of standing side saddle out there to get a jump. And got a tremendous jump on that ball to his right. It wasn't hit real hard, but still, watch a good play. See, he's kind of side saddle right there. Now here's the ball that he hits, and he makes a real good play to his right and pops up and throws quickly. Jimmy can't slide because the bat's right there, but he is going on contact, and that's the right play. And they almost stole a run, but you see his reaction. What am I going to do? The bat's there. Out anyway. He's going to be out, but still, you never know if he's able to slide. What could have happened?
The only thing that could have happened there is the umpire could have bent down. It would have to happen quick. Posey wasn't going to move the bat.
No.
Well, you're right, Wheels. It was all about Arias' throw.
Yeah, he made a tremendous play. He reacted really well on that, and even kind of went down to one knee.
Here's the one-strike pitch to Utley outside with a curveball, 1-1. Santiago Casilla joins Javier Lopez. Utley taking a breather before he steps back in. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And he lines that one right at Scudero on the side. Is retired. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left over at first. On to the 9th inning, a 1-0 lead, and the ball will be in the hands of Jonathan Papelbon. Luncheon here from your favorite members of the 1993 team, and more on Brad Lidge's retirement, plus more fallout from the Eagles and Riley Cooper. Chevy Malibu Sports Night tonight after postgame live only on Comcast Sportsnet. Pick a hat, any color. It's available at the Majestic Clubhouse store. Jonathan Papelbon, his jersey's available. 41st game for Papelbon, looking for his 21st save of the season. He's 2-0, an ERA of 2.21. And he will face Hunter Pence, Brett Hill, and Jeff Francoeur.
Now they do have 4 left-handed hitters available on their bench. Brandon Belt, Gregor Blanco, Brandon Crawford, and Roger Kieschnick.
Yeah, Kieschnick has a helmet and a bat, and he's on the stairs. Brad Lidge said what he misses is the game. He misses the camaraderie, and I'm sure he misses this kind of situation.
Sure, he's right now. He's out there. Mentally, he is on the mound right now.
Pence has 2 hits tonight, and he fouls the first pitch back. It's 0-1. I thought one of the best comments he made when we were talking to him was when he was talking about that slider to Hinske, where he said that he knew when he gripped it that it was going to be the pitch, that it was going to work, that the slider was going to be right where it needed to be.
Yeah. That's pretty neat. He decided to come out of the suite and out into the seats. He wants to get out of the energy right now, the save situation.
Balls, 2 strikes.
Never lose that feeling.
Carlos tried to help him out and bring that one back. It was close. Velocity's a little bit better, 92 miles an hour from Papelbon. He's had a few days off since his last appearance in Detroit.
That was just a mop-up. This is the first time he's had one of these for a while.
Now it's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Pence. Tried another breaking pitch, slowly hit towards short. Rollins charges, backhands, throws, not in time. And Pence has 3 hits tonight.
He can run, no doubt about it. He busted out of that box. And seen him beat these out before. He just lunges at it, doesn't hit it hard enough for Rollins to throw him out. Did everything he could.
Well, they've handled Pill tonight. He's 0 for 3. They've gotten in on him a few times. Hamels did a great job with that. Hamels 8 innings tonight, 7 hits, 4 strikeouts.
Probably not a bunt.
5 strikeouts.
Probably not a bunt situation on the road. We'll see. Very rarely do you see a manager bunt for a tie on the road. There are situations where they will do it, but it doesn't happen that often. That's pretty impressive. Really has him pulling off right now. You throw something away from him, you're going to have trouble getting to it. It's just that Papelbon is not a breaking ball type of guy. He's more fastball splitter. A little slider, and he's been throwing that little spinner up there this year too. A kind of in between slurve. But he's vulnerable away.
They're going to go in, it looks like. The 0-2 pitch. He wanted it up. It wasn't up.
No.
Once again, the 0-2 pitch. Over to the right side, a base hit. Pence thinking about going to third. He's around second, going to third. Nix's throw will be not in time. First and third with nobody out.
Great base running. And a high fastball that he just tomahawks into right field.
Well, now Roger Kieschnick will come on to pinch hit. They're talking about how they're going to play the defense right now.
Well, at home normally you'll play for a double play and give up the tying run here. I don't know. We'll see.
So Kieschnick 2 for 5 yesterday. They are going to play for 2, it looks like. And a ground ball toward the hole, base hit to right field, and the Giants have tied it up. Hill's going to third. It's the 6th blown save of the year for Jonathan Papelbon, and still nobody out.
It's a great job by Kieschnick. Just pull the ball. He had all kinds of room to hit it through over there. See Cole Hamels just kind of looking up in the air. It looked like a splitter, trying to get something to turn over. It goes right under Young's glove into right field. They're going to tie the game anyway on that. And see Kane.
He can't lose, but there's a chance he could win.
Sure. And he was going to, if he lost the game, he's going to get credit for a complete game tonight, his first of the year. But another blown save.
There's Joaquin Arias. Now they creep in more. The Phillies do. And it's 0-1.
Yeah, now they're not necessarily willing enough to give up the go-ahead run on a double play, so they're going to come in.
And he began with an infield single, then a bloop to right, and a ground ball to right. Over toward the hole, and the Giants are going to take the lead. Man, oh man. It's a 2-1 game and still nobody out. 4 straight hits. Boy, euphoria for the first 8 innings of tonight's ball game. And now this.
Well, that's what happens with a closer. They either get it done or they don't, especially in a game like this. And Papelbon's hearing it. Problem is nobody's swinging and missing at him either. You know, as you said, a lot of those balls aren't hit hard, but the bottom line is they're hit. And when your closer comes in, a lot of times they're swing and miss guys. That's what you want out there, and that's not happening.
Well, for Cole Hamels, this was the best 8 innings I think we've seen all year.
He was terrific tonight because he was in some jams, and he pitched out of them, and he knocked in the only run they scored tonight. And they had a runner at third last inning with 1 out, didn't get him in. So it just, a lot of the things that have happened all year are happening here tonight, but
in
late.
This 1 inning, yeah. Gregor Blanco is going to pinch hit for Matt Cain. So he'll leave with a chance now to win it.
Well, Blanco's a good bunter. So now is a situation where you probably would think about bunting, and you better be careful with this guy that you don't overthink it because he could beat it out.
And he squares, bunts it, and it's a good one. Ruiz goes to third, and they get him.
Oh, what a good play by Carlos Ruiz.
Very good play. That was not a bad bunt.
No, it was a pretty good bunt, but he had it all the way. He didn't have a real fast runner at second in Kieschnick. He knew that. So right away his mind is, I don't have a real fast runner. Ashley does a nice job. What he's supposed to do, retreat and then play first baseman over there.
So now Brandon Belt will come on as a pinch hitter. There have been a lot of games that have been very difficult to swallow, very difficult to watch this year, as everybody knows. This one's going to be tough to take if the Phillies don't come back. Belt late, 0-1.
Well, it's the old keep it to 1.
Keep it to 1. Sergio Romo, haven't seen him in the series. The closer for the Giants.
What a job he did for them last year.
Last time Papelbon blew at least 6 saves in a season was 2010 when he blew 8. You know, he said the other day after the Tigers game, and even before the Tigers game, that things have to change with the ball club. He said team's got to be better. He included himself in it. He said he didn't come here to have this happen. Yeah. He certainly does have to include himself in that. It's low, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Belt's numbers this year.
Well, the thing that jumps out at me is nobody swings and misses at it.
At least lately.
Yeah, and then you have to have that a lot of times because you're going to give up a base runner or 2, but you need strikeouts.
Yeah, we mentioned that hip that he's been battling. At least he was for a little bit. I don't know if it's still bothered him or not, but the velocity, which was at 92 tonight, had been down his previous few outings. Now time is called.
92 with the fastball he throws, though, is not swing and miss stuff, and that's the problem.
Well, trying to keep it at a 1-run deficit. The Phillies will have Michael Martinez, Ashe, and Mayberry due up in the bottom of the 9th inning, and there will be a bottom of the 9th. Now Papelbon is in his first save opportunity since the 14th of July.
Yeah, they haven't had many opportunities because they were on that long losing streak.
And ball 4 will load up the bases. I have to admit, I'm a little surprised they haven't come out and get him, just because he doesn't seem sharp at all. I know he's been one of the best closers in the game for a long time. But now you're facing the bases loaded. You do have a right-hander up.
And that's why.
Yeah.
They would make a decision when you get to Sandoval whether you want him to bat right or left-handed.
Well, now the base is loaded. Bastardo's ready in the bullpen. Phillies need Papelbon right now to be able to get these outs and not allow the Giants to score another run.
Scooter is a guy that does put the ball in play, too.
Scooter 1 for 4, Papelbon's former teammate. And it's high, 1 ball and no strikes.
He'll play the infield double play depth with 1 out.
Now he's behind 2-0. Hit toward third. Ashe's got it. He's coming home with it. Ball wasn't hit that hard. They get the lead runner.
The bat was out in front of home plate, and Ruiz, I think he had something happened with him as he was trying to catch it. First of all, that's a really good play by Ashe. Split-second decision. I got to come home because it's not a double play ball. So you have to make sure you don't give up another run there. And right away he makes a decision to come home. What happens with Carlos Ruiz here? Flinched. I don't know. I think he lost that.
Yeah, I think
and he just caught it.
Yeah, I think he may have.
Yeah, that's what it was that made him flinch. Because saw his head go down at the last second, and thankfully he was able to see it into the glove.
Well, that'll bring Sandoval up. The 8th man to bat here in the 9th inning. The Giants lead it 2-1. The bases remain loaded. He's 1 for 4 in the ball game. And a fastball for strike 1. Blanco over third, Belt at second, and Scudero at first. Chopper left side. Rollins charges. He's got it. Throws to first in time. And the side is retired. The Phillies have work to do. The Giants scored 2. They take a 1-run lead as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Michael Martinez will lead it off as the Phils try to come from behind. Ball games, and he'll talk about tonight's game right after it's over. Only on Cure Auto Insurance presents Phillies Post Game Live. Again, it's coming up right after the conclusion as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Jonathan Papelbon is as competitive as they come, and he's been shaking his head in that dugout after he allowed the 2 runs at the top of the 9th inning. Kind of talking to himself. Now he's hoping that his teammates can pick him up here in the bottom of the 9th inning. It'll start with Delman Young, and he'll start against Sergio Romo, the closer for the Giants. They've made a host of changes defensively. Crawford takes over at shortstop. Kieschnick takes over in left field. Blanco stays in the ball game, takes over in center field. Arias moves from shortstop to third. And I think that's it. There's Romo. He's the closer. 24 saves. He has 4 blown saves. He isn't perfect by any stretch, but he does average more than a strikeout per inning pitched. He's not overpowering with his fastball. It's more with his off-speed stuff that he becomes overpowering. Delman Young off the bench will pinch hit for Michael Martinez. 0-1 as Delman foul tips the first pitch. Delman on the year hitting .266. He does have 7 home runs, 30 runs batted in.
This guy did an amazing job last year, Romo. As Tom said, it's not that he's a real big fastball, but big heart. Pitched from the first base side of the rubber, has that sweeping slider that he throws to right-handed hitters. And he really gets some pull-offs from right-handers. And he has enough stuff to get left-handed hitters out, too. But they say the one thing about him is the way he competes.
Now the 1-2 pitch to Delman Young. Outside, there's that slider. It's 2-2. Ground ball toward third. Arias charges. Oh, he boots it. And a base runner for the Phillies.
Wow.
He picked his head up at the last moment, and I think that's what cost him.
Well, he didn't have to hurry the play. That's the thing about it. Because you have a really slow runner coming out of the box from the right side, and that's a play where you can almost take your time even though you're charging from deep. Here he comes. Just misses it. It's just, let's see, to take any kind of a hot, no, it's just careless. You just read this. It's just careless. That's not knowing your runner, I guess. And they just make the defensive change too to put him down there. They move Arias from shortstop to third, and he boots.
John McDonald will take over for Delman Young at first base.
It's a good time for Cody Ashley's first hit. Huh?
Sure is. 0 for 3 tonight.
They're gonna bunt him.
He squares, takes outside.
Yeah, well, you know, you're going to try and bunt to get the runner to scoring position with one out at home and tie the game. And then again, he just got ahead in the count. Maybe we'll give him a swing away. But he is a rookie. He just got up here.
Lined out sharply in his second at bat to Pence in right field. He squares again, and he bunts it foul. He's trying to get it toward Arias in that neighborhood. Ball, 1 strike. Arias charges in. Ashley squares. He should be getting it over to the first base side.
Yeah, that's where you want to bunt in this situation, because a third baseman has no responsibility down there worrying about base runners. He has a free run, and he can throw to second easily if the ball's bunted at him. What you want to do is bunt it towards the first baseman, who has to hang back.
He bunts it toward the left side, backhanded by Romo, who slips. Everybody is safe.
Oh, my.
Wow. What a start to the bottom of the 9th inning. And let's see how they score that one for Cody Ashley.
Probably going to have to give him a sack on that, and maybe a fielder's choice or a sack E1, because they weren't going to get the play at second. He was going to bunt the runner over here. There it is. He kind of slaps at it. Romo thought about second, and then he trips himself. Watch right here. He just slips. There goes a foot out from under him. He's lucky he wasn't in the position of throwing that thing. Here he goes right here. He has no shot at second base. And then he falls down. They go on a hit.
Well, Ashley's family, who was here last night, they get a chance to see their son get aboard and get his first major league hit. That's how they've scored that one.
What a way
They're
to get
asking
a hit
for the baseball.
Yeah. Romo's what? What do you mean? That's not a hit. He's thinking. He has no idea, and why would he?
Well,
right now, he's trying to think about how he can save this game.
Cliff Lee, the old, let me take the real ball and throw a fake ball into the crowd and make everybody think, oh no, he just threw away his first major league hit. Runners on first and second. Mayberry's up. He squares, and Romo turns back to see if Mayberry was going to give himself up.
Right now, here's the time where you try to bunt it towards third, because you want to get the third baseman away from the bat. You want to make it good enough, the type of bunt where the pitcher has to, or the third baseman has to come and get it, and then the third base is not covered unless they rotate.
Oh, it hit him. Wow, what an inning this has turned out to be. Bases loaded, nobody out. It's the strangest first 3 hitters that you're going to see.
This is Coyote ugly if you're the Giants. Unbelievable.
You got an E5 on a gimme play. You got a bunt where the hitter's giving himself up and the pitcher slips, and then Mayberry's trying to bunt, and he gets nailed with a slider from Romo to load up the bases.
Hits him with a frisbee. There's no way he could get out of the way that time. Look at Bochy.
Now the tying runs at third, the winning runs at second, and Lance Nix is at the plate for a chance to be a hero.
That looked like a major league half inning right there.
Well, the Phillies have had a lot of those kind of innings go their way in the negative this season. Maybe they're going to get one go their way in a positive.
Well, what are they going to do with their infield? All right, I'll put third back for a double play.
And Nix takes low and in, 1 ball and no strikes.
Now they're pointing in at the dugout to see what they. Crawford's going to go over and talk to Arias at third. And they're going into a double play depth in the middle. In the middle.
So they'll allow the run to score to tie it up. 1 ball, no strikes. Tough pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike. Must have just gotten the outside part of the plate.
I guess what they're telling the third baseman Arias is, depending on the velocity of it's hit to you, if it's hit to you and it's slow, come home. The double play ball will take it.
One and 1 to Lance Nix with the bases loaded. Phillies down by 1 here in the 9th.
Well, it's like the White Sox that gift wrapped a game for the Phillies earlier this year. The Giants are basically gift wrapping a tie at least here.
Lance Nix does have a base hit tonight, a run scored. It's been a tough go for him. His average at 184. Sergio Romo helped lead the Giants to the World Championship last year as their closer.
Yeah, he's not afraid out there. A little rattled right now.
Now the 1-2 pitch coming to Lance Nix. Hits it in the air. Shallow right field. Scudero is out. Pence is in, and Pence makes the call. And he gets the throw in. 1 out.
He's going to throw him slow stuff there, and he threw him another changeup right off the end of the bat.
Well, now Carlos Ruiz, who has been anxious in these spots this year. Let's see if he can calm himself down. He's 1 for 3. Kratz is out of the on-deck circle. There's Kratz. That's basically it for the Phillies. The infield at double play depth. The outfield shortens up.
Can't figure that out. Why they would be that shallow in the outfield right now in a 1-run game. The only thing you can be thinking is they're thinking about a base hit to center field to throw the winning run out at the plate and say, okay, if you hit it over my head, it's over anyway. So that's why they're doing that.
First pitch slider. It's 0-1 to Ruiz. Runners lead off with the bases loaded. And the pitch to Carlos. Lays off the breaking ball. 1-1.
That's what Romo's going to do, is try and throw that big sweeper and make a swing.
Kieschnick has just been called in a little bit more in left field.
Yeah, that's what their thinking is right now. They're almost playing this like the winning runs at third. And because their feeling is base hit maybe wins the game, so we're going to make it. If they hit it over our head, it's over anyway.
Carlos takes a fastball a little high. Not much difference in the miles per hour between the fastball and the slider at times.
No, he's not a hard thrower. This one is a little bit high, and it is. He's going to throw that frisbee up there, and that's how he gets right-handers to chase. Works way over in that first base side to give himself a lot of room to throw that thing.
2-1 pitch coming to Ruiz. Swing and a miss. 2-2. Took a little off that one.
He can make guys really look bad.
Yep, it's that kind of inning. It's top to bottom. It's that kind of inning.
That kind of year.
Kind of year. Romo's taking a long look in at Buster Posey. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Ruiz with the bases loaded. In the air to left field. It's not deep. Kieschnick is under it. McDonald's tagging. Kieschnick makes the catch. McDonald draws the throw. And the bases remain loaded with 2 outs now. And it's left up to Eric Kratz coming off the bench. Bases loaded, nobody out, and 2 shallow fly balls for the first 2 outs.
Well, he threw another slider and got him way out front. It's a strikeout pitch that he happened to put into play and didn't drive. Figured he was going to throw him another slider. Here he does. He pulls off and hits it right off the end of the bat, lunging at it. It's really hard to drive it like that.
Well, Kratz a few moments ago came running in from the bullpen. 8 home runs, 23 runs batted in. Trying to tie this game up first and foremost for the Phillies against Sergio Romo. And the first pitch, slider for strike 1. There's McDonald. No balls, 1 strike. And the pitch. Ground ball toward third. Arias has got it. Looks to second. Throws in time. And Romo works out of a bases loaded, no out jam here in the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Giants come from behind to knock off the Phillies 2-1. Well, in what has been a gut-wrenching season, a gut-wrenching 9th inning finishes off what has been a very difficult game for the Phillies. The Giants take 2 of 3 to win the series here in Philadelphia. Our Chevrolet player of the game, Matt Cain, boy, he really stuck with it. He pitched 8 innings, allowed just 1 run, and he turns out to get a no decision, or turns out to get the win in tonight's ball game.
Yeah, and Cole Hamels drives in the only run against him too. They said Matt Cain was back to looking like Matt Cain. He wasn't. He had real good breaking ball, curve and slider, 2 cutters. Also had a real good fastball location early in the game. Rode his fastball to using his off-speed pitches very well. And Matt Cain's their Chevrolet player of the game.
So Cain gets his 7th win of the season. Bruce Bochy's team gets out of Philadelphia by taking 2 of 3 from the Phillies. They win it 2-1. And how they won it is our W.B. Mason deliveries of the game.
Well, all kinds of stuff in that 9th inning against Jonathan Papelbon. Penn starts it off with a bleeder to short. Doesn't hit it hard enough, so he gets an infield hit. And now this is a 2-strike fastball that's hammered into right field. Just kind of blooped out there. And here's a ball hit into right field under the glove of Michael Young. It scores Pence to tie the game. And then Arias hits one in the hole to left field, and that gives them the lead at 2-1. Papelbon then started to retire some people. But at that point, 2 runs were on the board, and that was going to hold up. And those are W.B. Mason deliveries of the game.
So the Giants win it 2-1. This is the final out. Arias over at third. Botched one earlier. Not this time. The Giants win it 2-1. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this.